happens around the region, around the state, of course, and even the world. All eyes, of course, on Alaska as we give you a live look from Anchorage, Alaska. This will be the site of the highly anticipated meeting between President Donald Trump and his Russian counterpart, Vladimir Putin. Both men are on their way to this meeting in Alaska to discuss the trajectory of the war in Ukraine and the possibility of perhaps ending that conflict, although a lot remains to be seen. Different allies of the U.S. are worried about this taking place without input from Ukraine and other Western leaders, although there was a meeting between European leaders and Ukraine and President Donald Trump ahead of this meeting, and remains to be seen what will happen once Vladimir Putin arrives on U.S. soil. I believe the first time he had been on U.S. soil in about a decade or so, and of course following the 3.5 years of brutal war in Ukraine since Russia invaded those 3.5 years ago. So remains to be seen what will be discussed, how long it will be discussed. President Trump, in some of the interviews he did in the buildup to this, said he would walk if Putin does not give him some of the things that he wants to hear in terms of a possible ceasefire or possible concessions from the Russian side, telling Fox's news channel's Brett Baer, I would walk, yeah, if he does not hear what he wants to hear from Vladimir Putin. So a whole lot weighing in on that meeting today in Alaska. The president is supposed to arrive later this evening, our time, Central Time, and then it remains to be seen when they'll meet. There's a press conference, I believe, joint one planned between the two world leaders later today. Many, many people around the world taking note of Anchorage, Alaska today. Meanwhile, where the president left this morning, Washington, D.C., the protests continued there as we give you a live feed from our nation's capital. Some of the protests, the Free D.C. Protests continue here ahead or after the president's decision to basically put federal agents and the National Guard in charge of policing in Washington, D.C. The Free D.C. Project is a rally outside of the police headquarters for the Washington, D.C. Police. Of course, the National Guard, other federal agencies are involved in policing now in the nation's capital at the behest of the president, and that has been met with quite a bit of pushback in the nation's capital and around the country as well from the opposition who do not want to see that involvement of the White House, the federal level, in the policing of a U.S. city like that. So a few of the different things that we are tracking here on this Friday for you. And in the meantime, we can also give you a live look at downtown Milwaukee because the weather remains a big story for us today, a bit unfortunately. So we'll tell you a little bit about it, and then you'll hear from our weather expert, Stephanie Barkello, later in this 2-hour stretch of the Wisconsin Live Desk today. So you can kind of see a bit of clouds out there. There is some sunshine. That's great for Milwaukee today. A chance, once again, third straight day to kind of dry out from that historic flooding we received last weekend. But the bad news is the rain returns as soon as tomorrow. And I'll pop up one of our graphics from our weather experts back there in the weather office. This is kind of the look right now on this Friday, the satellite and radar, but a front is moving in and they are concerned about the levels of rain that we could see potentially in southeastern Wisconsin over the next couple days, because basically once this front arrives, it's supposed to sit there for a little bit and potentially could bring more inches of rain. Stephanie Barkello, our one weather expert, was on with me on Fox 6 News at 11 saying, if it's an inch of rain, that's all right. It's something the system can handle. If it ends up being, 2 to 3 inches or more potentially, depending how the system plays out, that is where we would be concerned once again for the water levels, especially given that many of the rivers are still quite high and so much of the ground is still waterlogged after the historic rainfall we got last weekend. So not anywhere near the amount of rain from last weekend, but given that we are not completely recovered from that, the fact that there is more rain in the forecast this weekend could potentially be cause for concern for folks. And then how about a little fun here on the Wisconsin Live Desk? We're messing with some different technology. We're trying to bring you Tim Van Voren live from the joint practices between the Colts and the Green Bay Packers down in Indianapolis. We had Tim on yesterday ahead of that briefing from Matt LaFleur. He also got to check out some of the practice there down in the Indianapolis area between the Colts and the Packers. a number of different things to tell you about. Tim is standing by. We just need to check a little bit of audio levels for you, and then hopefully a whole lot of talk about the green and gold ahead of their second preseason game against the Colts this weekend. Tim has been down in Indy for much of this week, of course knows this team in and out. So we are going to take a short break here on the Wisconsin Live Desk, check our audio levels with Tim Van Voren, and hopefully bring you Packers chatter here on a Friday afternoon ahead of game day, albeit preseason game day, but a lot of headlines to discuss and a lot of players kind of stepping up for the Packers recently that fans certainly hope will be key components of a long playoff run in this 2025 season. So that's still to come here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. Quick break, and we'll be right back with you in 2 minutes.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Welcome back. It's the Wisconsin Live Desk on this Friday afternoon, 12:38. We are rolling into the weekend, although someone who very rarely takes a day off is hard at work once again as we bring in our sports director here at Fox 6. That would be the one and only Tim Van Voren, always finding the stories on the trail with the Green Bay Packers down there in Indianapolis, although race fans will certainly take note of your backdrop today, Tim. Not necessarily Packers focused, although we're going to have a lot of Packers talk. Where are you for the non-racing fans?
Well, we're over at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, Carl, and when in Rome, right? How could you go to Indianapolis and not get to the Speedway for some of this? The Packers practiced with the Colts yesterday. They'll play the Colts on Saturday, but this is a non-access day for them here in Indy. We couldn't catch up with them. I mean, I might run into them on the street or something, but this is not a day where we have something structured to get together with them. So we're over at the Speedway, and thought we'd join you from here today. We could talk some Packers, and also we caught up with one of the IndyCar drivers, Kyle Kirkwood, when we came down here the other day, and he kind of was giving us some fun stories about, you know, where to go in Indy, what to do, that sort of thing. So that'll be coming up later today here on Fox Local and on Fox 6 Sports as well.
I love it. The tourism board down there in Indy is going to love all the different places. I know you're checking out the NCAA headquarters earlier this week. Maybe a trip to St. Elmo's, I'm not sure, down the road. But let's talk Packers while we have you here, because you did get to check out some of those joint practices yesterday between the Colts and the Packers, of course, ahead of the preseason game tomorrow. You had a couple standouts for us yesterday, including the new first-round pick, Matthew Golden, at wide receiver. How about from the sessions yesterday? Who stood out? Who kind of popped for you from what you were watching?
If you're going on the offensive side of the ball, Carl, you'd be looking down a long ways because the offense didn't do very well. Okay on the offensive line, but really that was it. The main receivers were not out there other than Matthew Golden, and that showed up a little bit in the passing situation. The standouts for the Packers, though, were on defense. Lucas Van Ness continues to have a strong camp. He really had a big game yesterday. I asked Rashawn Gary, how do you think he did? He said, well, if you were paying attention, you saw me in the backfield all day, lots of penetration, and he's not wrong. Kingsley Enagbari, Rashawn Gary, Lucas Van Ness, those are the guys who really stood out in terms of creating pressure on the Colts time and time again. In a long 2-minute drill for the Colts, they had 20-plus plays. They only scored 1 touchdown in those 20-plus plays. That was a little 3-yard run. The defensive backs were very active. Javon Bullard, Keyshawn Nixon. So it was a good day for the Packers defense and a challenging, or shall we say, instructive day for the Packers offense.
Yeah, we will certainly get back to the offense, but since you mentioned him, Lucas Van Ness there, of course Packer fans were kind of hoping for a little bit more from him over the first couple years, but nice to see he's having a good camp. Does he look different? Is it comfort in the NFL, comfort in the system now? What do you think has seemed to translate this year, at least so far in camp?
I think there are a lot of pieces there, Carl. I do think he's just a little bit more mature. He's a little bit bigger this year. He's always been well put together, but a little bit bigger, very focused. He really has talked a few times this camp and also yesterday about, I don't care about my detractors. I know the skeptics are out there. I really care about the guys who are with me in the position room. That's who I'm focusing with. I spent the summer working out, or the offseason, I should say, working out with Kenny Clark out in California. A lot of close contact with Rashawn Gary. The Packers made a change at their position coach there on that position, the edge rusher spot, defensive line. I know they figure maybe they can get a little more fire from a Lucas Van Ness type player. And more than anything, Lucas Van Ness has always been pretty good at a couple of things, but he's needed to diversify what he brings out there. And he's worked on that in the offseason. If he can diversify what he brings to the field, he should be a contributing player for the Packers at the type of level you'd expect from a first-round pick.
Yeah, you certainly would hope so if you're GM Brian Gutekunst there as well. Let me ask you about the offense. We'll start with the most important position, of course, Jordan Love not playing after he goes through that procedure on his left hand, his thumb. Malik Willis, much more comfortable, I would imagine, with the Packers, with the system in general, although perhaps not necessarily showing it in the session yesterday.
He wasn't even here calendar year ago, because, of course, he came in right at the end of the preseason for the regular season. So you're exactly right. His comfort level is much higher. Yesterday, I just thought Willis, Sean Clifford, Taylor Algebra, all the quarterbacks who threw were inaccurate in my mind. They were high with a lot of passes. Now, were they high, or the receivers not where they expected them to be? Were the Colts defending the plays well? All those things can factor in. We'll see. Malik Willis will get the bulk of the playing time on Saturday against the Colts at the Lucas Oil Stadium. And Matt LaFleur was asked specifically, did you ask him or tell him to do something different, as he's going to be the main guy here through the preseason with Jordan Love recovering from the surgery on his left thumb? And LaFleur said, no, not at all. Be yourself. Don't do anything else. You're comfortable now. You're more comfortable, as you alluded to, Carl, and just be yourself. We know what to expect from you. We'll be fine with that.
How about Jordan Love? I know he spoke a little bit to the media yesterday, obviously taking part, watching, but not participating for a while now. Is there any concern if you're a fan out there and your starting quarterback isn't taking part in this portion of training camp? Or it seemed to be spun more positively that he's kind of taking care of things now before the games actually count?
It's certainly spun positively by Jordan, and I think by Matt LaFleur. I think the organization is taking a very positive, optimistic stance on this, and they're probably right. It's your left hand, it's your non-throwing hand. Jordan Love did say that if it was the regular season, he probably wouldn't even have had surgery, because he didn't want to lose the recovery time, that he felt he could lose the time off right now. I asked specifically yesterday, he had made a reference to week 1 in his comments with us, and I said, well, Jordan, week 1 is such a big game, the Detroit Lions. You're maybe not going to be getting as much work here through the preseason as you wanted. How will you be ready for week 1? He said, we've already banked a lot of good work. We have a lot of good reps already in there. We have the chemistry already established, the continuity built up. So he's confident that in week 1, things will be fine for the Packers. I do think it's a concern, to answer your question specifically, Carl, if your quarterback is walking around with a soft cast all the way up to his elbow. You know what I mean? That's not what you want to see from your most highly compensated, most important player. But again, it's the non-throwing hand. It's midway through the preseason, and the Packers and Jordan Love are saying publicly that they'll be just fine.
Yeah, we chatted about it yesterday, the kind of shifting of the NFL schedule, right, with a limited preseason even than what it used to be. There's not as many chances, and that's a big one for the Packers opening up against that division rival right off the bat in Week 1. How about the guys who will be protecting Jordan Love or Malik Willis this weekend? We know much has been made about Jordan Morgan kind of shifting, playing more left tackle in camp as well. The offensive line as a whole, where do you see that right now? Something that has been such a strength for this team, this franchise, going back years now. How do you think it's shaping up so far in this season?
I can't imagine it not being a strength, even if we don't know exactly who's going to play where at this point. They have a lot of very capable players in there, a lot of experienced players, and some young guys who are pressing for time. Jordan Morgan would be one of them. Last year's first-round pick, played in, I believe, 6 games last year because of injury, didn't play much, obviously. He's actually looked better as the preseason has gone along here. He struggled a little bit at the start of training camp, but he's looked better as things have gone along, including yesterday with the joint practice. Anthony Belton, this year's second-round draft choice, he shows you some promise for sure. Now, a guy like that, there would be some adjustments for sure because he's coming into the NFL from North Carolina State, but he definitely shows you some potential. But let's not dismiss the holdovers. The Packers paid Zach Tom big money in the offseason. He's their fixture at right tackle. They have Elton Jenkins at center. You go across the line, I certainly think you're going to be talking about Rasheed Wallace at the left tackle spot. I think he's going to retain that position. He started more than 30 games for the team there. And the big offseason free agent, and that would be Aaron Banks at left guard. So a little question mark at right guard if it's going to be Sean Ryan or not. But I think you're going to have experienced players there with young, talented players pushing for time.
Yeah, it's a good mix to have, certainly if you're Matt LaFleur and if you're Jordan Love behind him there. 2 last questions for you here, Tim. One football, one fun outside of it, since you're joining us from the Speedway. First of all, when it comes to the joint practices and then the preseason game as well, where do the players and the coaches, for that standpoint, seem to get the most benefit from? Because I was interested that a lot of the starters, full participation yesterday, but won't necessarily be playing in the actual game. Are the practices themselves against that other opposition kind of where the coaches really want to see people versus a game situation like it's coming on Saturday?
It's a good question, Kyle, and I think the answer is yes to that on the joint practices. That's the place to evaluate. Even the players would say, for instance, Rashawn Gary saying, well, by now, Zach Tom knows exactly how I'm going to set up. I know exactly what Zach Tom wants to do. 2 good players, you can practice as hard as you want against each other, but you kind of know what's coming. And so by mixing it up, going against a team where you don't know what you're necessarily going to get on either side of the ball, that's the advantage. And that's what the coaches and evaluators are able to take a look at. How is this player reacting? Matt LaFleur has talked, and Brian Gutekunst has talked about wanting to see their players out there in a family night setting or in a preseason game setting without the coach right in their ear. It's not do a drill with the coach next to you on the training camp field and then go out there and repeat what the coach tells you. No, you have to figure out what to do when you're out there on your own. And that joint practice gave you an opportunity to see the Packers do that. And while I say this is a non-access day for us, it's not like the Packers have the day off. They're going through film, they're going through walkthrough, they're going through quite a bit as they process what took place on the joint practice field and prepare for Saturday's game.
Yeah, and certainly for the younger players, too. It's about learning how to become a pro, right? All the ebbs and flows of a week leading up to a game like they'll have tomorrow. All right, last question. Since you're at the Speedway, we have the Milwaukee Mile 250 coming up here back home, of course, next weekend, the 23rd and 24th, over at the Milwaukee Mile. What is some of the fun you're getting into today, whether it's race focused or whether it's a chance to kind of explore, pop around Indy a little bit, Tim?
We will follow up a little bit. I caught up with Kyle Kirkwood, who's one of the better young drivers on the IndyCar circuit. When we got into town the other day, he was very gracious with his time. So we talked a lot about what we should do here in Indy, and then once he gets back to Milwaukee, what he should do back in Milwaukee. So have some fun with that stuff, Carl, coming up. So we'll pop around town, get some of the spots that he sent us to, and we also had a chance to check with Mike Pryor, who was a longtime Packer, 6 years with the Packers, 6 years with the Colts, Super Bowl champion with the Packers. He's here in Indy, and I had a chance to talk to him about how he got to Green Bay in the first place, and then that Super Bowl 31 season, 1996. That's going back a ways, but it was such a breakthrough season for the Packers because it had been just such a drought since the start of the Super Bowls. And anyone who was around at that time for the Packers will remember the importance of that breakthrough team with Brett Favre and Reggie White and Leroy Butler and Mike Pryor. And Mike has some great stories about what took place kind of behind the scenes during that season. We'll have that coming for you later today as well. So it's a productive time here in Indy, and I'm going to be honest with you, Carl, it's an enjoyable time. It's a chance to catch some of these players and coaches in a little bit of a more relaxed position, and then see what happens with the game coming up tomorrow.
I love it. Looking back at past greatness while looking ahead to what this team might be able to do on the field, and some fun outside at the racetrack as well. No days off for an NFL player or coach. Very few days off for our sports director, Tim Van Voren. Always finding something down there when he's on the road. Thank you so much for joining us, Tim. Enjoy the rest of the day.
Appreciate it, Carl. Have a great weekend.
All right, how great is that? Tim's finding it all for us, for the racing fans, for the football fans, for the history buffs with the Packers, all of it here on the Wisconsin Live Desk, and of course coming for you on Fox Local with his reporting later today once he gets back to it here. Great having Tim on with us here on a Friday afternoon. One quick break for you, and then we'll get back to another reporter, Ashley Sears, who's out and about for us today. We will get her story and what's to come here on Fox Local after this short break. Thanks for watching the Wisconsin Live Desk.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Welcome back to the Wisconsin Live Desk. Carl Deffenbaugh with you here on this Friday afternoon. We've had some fun with the sports talk and Tim Van Voren down in Indy, but we are keeping an eye on a number of different things happening around the country and certainly here in southeastern Wisconsin as well. Just a quick camera feed that popped up for us here from this meeting between President Trump and President Putin of Russia. This is the feed that we have now as the travel pool has set up shop there outside of Anchorage, Alaska. It's a base there, a military base for the U.S. military, where this will take place, this high-stakes meeting and what could potentially come in terms of a possible end to the war in Ukraine, although that's a long way away, as the two leaders of the U.S. and Russia will meet later today. You can see the gangway set up there back on the tarmac and some of the signage and the military jets there with service members walking by. So keeping an eye on that, looking ahead to that, while we're also covering the big story here for the last week, basically started a week from tomorrow, the Saturday rain that turned into Sunday flooding. And Ashley Sears is covering some of the aftermath from that as we bring you in, Ashley. There have been so many different harrowing stories in the wake of that flooding, different people waking up to their basements completely covered, feet of water coming up the stairs. And then the story that you're bringing us today of one man and what he had to make it through when the rain came in. What are you working on?
Yeah, so where we are right now, we're on 76th Street, just above Highway 145 here. You see traffic flowing fine, but it was a much different story out here on Sunday morning. And we spoke with a man who was stranded on top of his car beneath the bridge right here. He tells us he was driving around 2 in the morning. He had just gotten onto Highway 145 and he didn't realize that he was driving into floodwaters until that water started rising beneath his feet inside his car. He said that quickly rose all the way to the headrest and he was stuck in the water. So he got out of his car, climbed on top of the roof, and he started live streaming. And that video has since gotten 9 million views. It shows high water that eventually receded after about an hour and a half. And it wasn't until about 4 a.m. that he was towed away from underneath that bridge. He says it was faith and humor that got him through everything. And now he's looking for a new vehicle. He says preferably a big truck because he saw several big Tahoes and Ford F-150s passing him by. But he says he was about one of 4 or 5 vehicles that were stranded beneath this bridge here early Sunday morning, Carl.
It's just astounding having seen a little bit of that video, Ashley. I know it streamed for like an hour and a half or so while he was out there. You can see some other people in that video. That's going to be part of your stories tonight. What kind of stood out to you from that video about kind of the more dangerous parts of it, right? He's almost impressively calm given that he's on top of like 4 or 5 feet of water there.
Yeah, we talked to him and he said like he didn't want to freak out in that situation. He said because that would do him no good. So he just kind of took it all in and he was pretty humorous about it all as the water was rising. What stood out was how quickly the water rose. And he said, you know, at first it looked like just a flat road, so he continued on it because no one else was really stranded at that point. He saw one car pulled off to the side, but he didn't think they were stopped in the water. And then when he got in it, he said, oh my gosh, the water just started rising and rising and rising. And it wasn't until one of the other stranded drivers found a drainage area where there was some garbage that was clogging the drain that they started pulling some of that debris away and the water receded. But at that point, the car battery was dead and they were all stuck there.
Wow, I mean, that's amazing too, just considering it. And impressive that he kept a sense of humor during all that as well, Ashley. It's certainly why our weather experts always say, no matter what you think you can get through, do not drive through standing water like that because you never know how deep it might be or what might be in that water as well. How's he doing now? I imagine the car is a total loss, so how's he kind of recovering almost a week after all of this happened?
You know, just like in the video, he had a great sense of humor about everything that was happening. He said he's looking for a new car. He started a GoFundMe page. He's enjoying the attention that live stream is getting. And right now he's just trying to get back on his feet. And he said throughout everything, it was just a car to him. He said so many people have lost so much more. So he's thinking about them right now.
I mean, that is impressive perspective. I'll just keep saying that too. Certainly a lot of people, rightly so, have been, terrified and incredibly sad over the stuff they've lost. So nice to see someone who's handling this honestly so well. Any of the comments or things like that stuck out to him? I guess if he was enjoying the live feed and some of the reaction and interaction with people watching, millions of them watching that video, any of the comments or interactions stick out to him or to you?
He had a ton of comments, too many, but he was live streaming kind of everything now. So he's hoping maybe this might turn into something else. I don't know what, but he's maybe hoping to be a bit of an influencer after this.
Okay, I mean, that is the growing economy, right? So there you go. You never know how you can get your start. And I guess this is trying to turn the best into something from a bad situation. All right, Ashley, looking forward to seeing that and seeing some of the video with it too when you have that story for us later today on Fox Local. Thanks for joining us here on the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Yeah, thanks, Carl.
It's a good reminder, too, if you want to see the video that Ashley's working with that gentleman, hear some of his reaction, because he sounds like quite a character, too, if he's able to keep a sense of humor during something as scary as that. You want to check it out later on Fox Local, whether that's our newscast that's streamed tonight at 4, 5, and 6 right here on this same app, or the individual story itself you can find as well on Fox Local. But man, interesting story for Ashley to be working on, and nice to see cars going by and underneath that bridge today, as they were not able to do last weekend when the rain came in. I did mention this earlier, but unfortunately our weather experts are expecting more rain this weekend, not the record-setting levels that we had last weekend, but because of how saturated the ground is, because of how high some of the waterways are, still almost a week after the rain first came through, there's a fear that if this system this weekend produces multiple inches of rain, we could end up with more flooding concerns, more basement issues for folks around southeastern Wisconsin. So that's just something to be aware of this weekend. Stay tuned here on Fox Local, or check out the FOX6 Storm Center app to check out our Wisconsin weather experts and see what they continue to tell you, as that forecast, of course, can change quite a bit over the hours, the days still ahead this weekend. It's a bit of a tricky one for them to forecast, so we shall see. All right, a couple of the other things that we're watching here as we get to 1 o'clock here on the Wisconsin Live Desk this Friday. I'll be with you for the next 30 minutes before Ben Handelman takes over for the second hour of Wild, as we like to call it. Let's get you back to D.C., where the protests continue. We'll see if we can get some of the audio, kind of the scene setter for you. Excuse me, from our nation's capital. There you go. There's the audio. As protests continue against the influx of National Guard members and federal input on the police force, and basically trying to take over operations in Washington, D.C. Let's listen a little bit to what some of the speakers are saying here at this Free D.C. rally.
It is hot, and we've all been here through lunchtime, and we have done an amazing, amazing job telling the story of D.C. being joyful and powerful, witness, and it is time for us to take care of ourselves. So how are we going to take care of ourselves when we leave here? Are we going to leave alone? No! How are we going to leave? Yeah, we're going to leave at least with one other person, with a buddy at the very least when you walk away from here. I want people to walk together. Wherever you're going, back towards the metro, make sure that you're in pairs, make sure you're looking out for each other, and we are going to keep you updated. I'm guessing everyone here already is on our list, but you can go to freedcproject.org, come to an orientation. We've got an art build tomorrow. And we are in this until we free DC, right? So we're going to have a lot of fun together over the coming weeks. And what we're going to do is we're going to free DC. So thank you so much for coming out at the very last second and bearing witness with us and being in community with us. And we will see you at the trainings, at the art builds, at the orientations, at the meetings, at every single day. We will see each other at 8 p.m. to 8:05 p.m. when we are banging pots and pans. I will imagine seeing all of you every single time I see Free DC written in chalk wherever I am walking around DC. Every time I see somebody has made a homemade little Free DC sign, it's just 3 stars, 2 lines, and the words Free DC. Everybody can do it. And that is what we're going to do in the near term, right? We are going to find our community members by banging pots every night from 8 to 8:05 p.m. 8 p.m. for all 8 wards. And we are going to put up our DC flags, put up our Free DC logos, and really make it clear that this town, this is our town. This is our home. DC is our home, and they can have it. All right, thanks everyone. We'll see you soon.
All right, that is again a Free DC rally taking place in Judiciary Square, and a number of the protesters there all signed that banner, hoping that control of the DC Metropolitan Police Department will return to the police department, the city of DC, as opposed to the federal government after the Trump administration made that call. So as that is wrapping up in our nation's capital, we'll take you back to the other big story. After our president left DC, he is on his way here to Alaska for this joint meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin, a face-to-face visit between those world leaders. Shout out to one of our producers, Rogers back in the booth, our soon-to-be breaking news anchor, Haley, who pointed out, what do you do to get ready for an international summit where all eyes of the world are on you? You apparently vacuum. It's chores like the rest of us, cleaning up the vacuum cleaner there as they have that stage set for Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin to meet with fighter jets there as the backdrop. This is Joint Base Elmendorf-Richardson outside of Anchorage, Alaska. Alaska, of course, used to be a Russian territory before it was sold to the U.S. Many, many decades ago. Became the 50th state as well after World War II. And now the site of this pivotal meeting between President Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin, discussing some of the issues at play in the war in Ukraine and some of what both sides, Russia and the U.S. and Western allies, would want to see when it comes to a possible ceasefire and perhaps also even an end to the war. It's an interesting time for the different world leaders for certain, as the war is now 3.5 years slogging on in Ukraine. Russia has made some gains and from what people have reported is hoping to hold on to some of that territory it has taken over in Ukraine, while for Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, that is a bit of a non-starter, non-negotiable there, wanting the Ukrainian territory to stay under Ukrainian control. And that is some of the worries with Ukraine not being a part of the discussions today, instead a bit on the outside, while President Trump and President Putin have their discussions later on. Yeah, you go back to 1867, America bought Alaska for roughly 2 cents an acre at that time. Notable transition, of course, that eventually has turned into the largest state in the Union and one of the more pivotal ones as well when it comes to this meeting today. We have a little bit of time here to take a break on the Wisconsin Live Desk. They are still getting things ready, of course. Long flight for the president from Washington, D.C. to Anchorage, Alaska, and to that base where that meeting will take place later today. But it's something we hope to bring you later on Fox 6 News tonight once that is underway and once we start to get some of the details from that face-to-face meeting between world leaders. For right now, though, we are going to take a short break here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. You are looking live at Milwaukee, Wisconsin. We'll be right back in 2 minutes.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Rolling Moving right along on a Friday here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. Thanks a lot for watching. I'm Carl Deffenbaugh here. Ben Handelman will be with you in just over 20 minutes as we give you a live look at downtown Milwaukee. Quite a pretty picture today of City Hall, the flag moving in the breeze there, and you can make out the blue skies, some of the clouds as well in our forecast today. It's what's coming this weekend, though, that is of concern. More rain in the forecast. The question, just how much will be added to what we already got last week in the historic flooding that swept through part of our area. We know the cleanup has been going on all week, will continue to go on for weeks and months to come. And that is where we turn things over now to our Abril Preciado, who joins us live from one of the businesses trying to get back up and running after the devastating flooding. Abril, it's interesting. We had the Humane Society on Fox 6 News at 11 earlier today. Thankfully, most of their facilities were okay, but we know there are so many great organizations that work with animals around southeastern Wisconsin. Where are you and what are they dealing with on this Friday?
Yes, Carl. I mean, right now we're in Morgan Heights, near Morgan Heights, a neighborhood here in Milwaukee County. Obviously, as you just mentioned, this has been a very heavy week for people here in Milwaukee. Obviously, with the historic flooding that hit here in our area, and one of the businesses, or I should say nonprofits, that was also impacted was Roxy's Resource and Awareness, which is a nonprofit organization that pretty much provides free food for families that have pets and also other resources available for them. Now, they are one of the several that have been impacted. Today we were able to get a glimpse of the damages that they experienced. Now we spoke to the founder of Roxy's, and she was telling us that several of the dog food, several of the pet food that they had items were completely just pretty much destroyed, damaged from the flooding that occurred. Most of the items they had them all stored in their basements. And just to give you guys a glimpse of what they were able to kind of salvage was these crates right here. They're just among some of the few items that they were able to kind of save from that, as well as some baskets that are out here and some other items, including some shelves, which I'll show you guys in a minute. Now, obviously right now, right here, we see this truck right here, or this trailer, I should say, and she was able to, the founder was able to tell us that they were able to save some things that were in here, but obviously not everything is able to be stored inside here to be able to help out families that need these resources as well. So luckily they were able to save some stuff here. Now, one thing that was also mentioned to us is the fact that they had several items that they had in their basements. And that's where they stored them, because they kept them, like, you know, with AC on, so they could be cool and the food could be safe. They couldn't store them outside even prior the weather situation that happened because of how hot it is out here. I mean, right now we're out here and we're feeling the sun kind of burned right now. And so that's the main factor that she really emphasized, that even if, you know, they had planned ahead, there would be no other space to put it in or to put those items in. So with the help of, obviously, with volunteers and people that showed up, they were able to fully clean out the basement area. But unfortunately, that took a huge toll, because from what we were told from Vicki Van Leer, who's the founder, she was telling us that over maybe $50,000 worth of items were damaged and had to be thrown away. And with the help of volunteers that came over here, they were able to kind of clear out everything and throw them away and fill up a whole 10-foot dump established. Yeah. I can't find the name for it. Yes. But anyways, let me show you guys right now, right here. Over here, unfortunately, we can't go inside, but one of the things she also mentioned to us is that these shelves right here were also among the other items that were rescued from their basements. As you can see, it's only 3 of them. It's just very few. She says that one of the things that they're doing is just kind of like trying to clean them out, trying to, you know, disinfect them as well. That's why we see the Clorox right there, because sewage water was actually what ran through their basements. We were down there earlier today, as mentioned, and we are able to kind of smell that humid, thick smell that is kind of lingering through the basement. We're seeing fans and as well as the drywall kind of deteriorating with some tears as well. So just to kind of give you an idea of what we were able to see down there. You'll be able to see it later on in our newscast, but that it's very devastating. Obviously, this organization really just focuses on trying to help out families that are in need of providing help for their pets as well, or that have pets. She says that many families have actually reached out right now because many of them were also devastated by these floodings that occurred in the area. And she says that like they're able to help, but just not as much as they were before. So right now they are seeking obviously the community's help to try to get through this difficult time. Right now Roxy will be closed. However, she does say that if you guys reach out to her through their Facebook page or their email, they're able to kind of accommodate families, I guess depending on what they need. But that's pretty much what we're seeing right now. They do have some information if you guys would like to help on their Facebook page, and we'll also include them on our website as well. But it's pretty much really just devastating. I mean, just over the course of this week, it's just been very sad, and even it hits you too as a person just to see how impacted these families, our community is feeling left from this historic flooding that happened in our area.
And it's been so awful for so many, but it certainly does hit in kind of a different way when it's an organization that helps people, and they're the ones now, of course, in need of help. Wow, I can't talk here on a Friday. Brielle, let me ask you this as well. How is she doing? I imagine initially it was a lot of shock, a lot of sadness, trying to deal with stuff. That's obviously been a lot of work to get things cleared out. The fact that they've lost maybe $50,000 worth of supplies is just awful. How is she holding up at this point?
I mean, she says it's been tough. She says that she's had to also kind of like check on her mental health, because obviously there's so much that's coming to you, and it's very and I feel like as humans and as people, it's very much understandable. There's so much going on, let alone nobody expected something like this to hit our area and now deal with the aftermath of flooding that we are not used to seeing here in Wisconsin. So it's definitely something that she says that has, brought tears and kind of like, trying to figure out what comes next, how to, I guess, again, regain everything she had to provide those services for people that come and seek this help. Because then again, even though she needs help herself, she's still trying to help out people that need help. So I feel like that just goes to show how much she really cares about what she does with providing these services for families. So it was just very heartbreaking to see that. But obviously, just like everyone else, we're trying to be resilient. We're trying to keep going. And I think the beautiful thing that we have been seeing from this happening is pretty much just how the community is coming together and helping one another, whether it be through GoFundMe pages or even just kind of like approaching and offering that helping hand. And I feel like we're seeing that a lot everywhere. But this is just one of the many stories that we're hearing here after this devastation.
Yeah, well, so many people are going through the same thing as well. I know you mentioned a couple of the things there, but yeah, just to wrap it up here, Brielle, what would be the best way for viewers to help? If they're watching this, if they're moved by Roxy's stories and struggles this week, what is she specifically most looking for now in terms of help and aid? Maybe we can share some of that.
So right now they're obviously looking for pet food, whether it be cat food, dog food, any type of pet food that you may have. Send it over her way. I'm going to be showing you guys this flyer that she gave me. It has a QR code and a couple of pages that viewers that are watching this right now can kind of check out, or screenshot or take a picture of how they can reach out to her. I know there's also other facilities and organizations. There's a list of them actually where people can also donate some of those items that are needed, and then they'll store them at their establishments, and then once Roxy gets everything ready and opens again, they'll be able to have them here at their back at their basements or back at the establishment where they're able to store those items again. But this is pretty much the information. I'll provide more information later on in our newscast, but for right now, this is pretty much the main sources right now.
No, that's good.
And once again, it's dog food, cat food, and crates, beds for
whatever you have,
pets.
whatever you're able to give.
I'm not a yes, exactly. I'm not a pet owner, so I don't know the names for them. So excuse me, please. I apologize. But but yes,
okay.
Anything that is needed.
Yeah, no, it's a wonderful story you're bringing us today, and the resiliency of the community, hopefully bonding together and helping her out as well and get Roxy's back up and moving again. Abril, thank you so much for joining us here on the live desk, and we'll look for that full story later today here on Fox Local. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, while she gets back to her work, look for that story as well later today on our newscast 4, 5, and 6. We like to bring you our reporters in the midst of their workday here on the Wisconsin Live Desk, get a sense for what we're working on here locally in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, what you have to look forward to later today and throughout the day here on Fox Local. With that, we are due for another break as we give you a live look at downtown Milwaukee. Quick 2 minutes here. We'll be back with much more, including an interior shot of where Presidents Trump and Putin will meet later today for this high-stakes summit. We will show you more from Alaska, more from Milwaukee, and all across the country here on the Wisconsin Live Desk after this.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Welcome back to the Wisconsin Live Desk. Carl Deffenbaugh here with you on this Friday afternoon. A few more minutes of me, and then Ben Handelman will take over the second hour here on the Live Desk for your Friday. We are following a number of different things. We've had the local stories for you here, the cleanup efforts now in the wake of all of that flooding we got, and the potential for more rain coming this weekend. I know our team of weather experts will be joining Ben in the second hour to detail some of the concerns, unfortunately, for this weekend here in Milwaukee and throughout southeastern Wisconsin. A bit of a question of just how much rain we could see by the end of the weekend. It's beautiful today, but it's coming Saturday morning and throughout the rest of the weekend. The question's still kind of up in the air, how much rain we will get and what that will do to an already taxed system there. I believe, let me just pull this up here for you real quick. I thought we just saw a shot from this live feed in Alaska that we've been following. Of course, two big stories happening far, far apart, but still within the borders of the United States, in Alaska and in Washington, D.C., that we want to touch on before we get there. Air Force One, I believe, has just landed on the tarmac here at this military base in Alaska, where this summit between President Donald Trump and Russian President Putin will take place later on. This is Joint Base Elmendorf-Richardson in Alaska, outside of Anchorage. I thought I just caught a flash of the tail of Air Force One there. Notable, of course, the white plane with that light blue streak as well on the tarmac. So if it pulls back around, we'll certainly get you back to that ahead of this meeting between Trump and Putin. Meanwhile, there's also a shot from inside. There's a reporter standing in the way, so don't mind that right now. Actually, you know what? There's two different cameras, so there you go. Air Force One has arrived in Anchorage, Alaska, at this military base ahead of the meeting between Trump and Putin. So we will try to take some of that for you here. Let me see if there's some audio as well to go with it. Yeah, from the tarmac here at this joint base, Elmendorf-Richardson. A planned joint news conference as well between those leaders will take place. We've seen a shot from inside this base where that will be a giant backdrop with the words "pursuing peace," kind of the message from both sides, the Russian and American sides, and flags from both countries seen on that stage next to two different podiums where we are expecting to see and hear from the two presidents, President Trump of the United States and President Putin of Russia. Air Force One has arrived. We will continue to keep you up to date on that. We are also keeping an eye on, there's someone testing a mic right now, but this is a live camera outside of Washington, D.C., the United States courthouse there, where we are expecting to hear from the mayor of Washington, D.C., Muriel Bowser, after a hearing inside of that courthouse. And that has to do with the president's efforts to take control of the policing in Washington, D.C., including sending in the D.C. National Guard to bolster efforts from the Washington, D.C. Police Department as well. And that is being challenged in court right now. So we are trying to keep an eye on that as that plays out. The mayor of D.C., inside of that courtroom, supposed to make some statements at that microphone. This is a bit of a stakeout at the Constitution Street entrance to the U.S. District Court there. There is a 2 p.m. local time in D.C., so 1 p.m. here. There was an emergency hearing that started on the federal takeover of the D.C. Police Department, and a counter in court. Remains to be seen what will come of that, but we are expected to hear from Mayor Bowser of Washington, D.C. after that. So a couple different things for you from around the country. Alaska and Washington could not be farther apart, almost at different parts of the northern hemisphere there. But we are following two big stories relating to the Trump administration and to international news as well over the course of this afternoon. Let's just take a moment right now and see, soak in this appearance from who we expect to walk down that staircase soon, President Donald Trump, with Air Force One arriving in Alaska after a long 6+ hour flight from Joint Base Andrews outside of Washington, D.C. this morning. As we continue to cover this for you here on the Wisconsin Live Desk on this Friday afternoon, some of the other notable things that could potentially be discussed or potentially could come from this summit between Trump and Putin in Alaska today. The president of the U.S., Trump, has threatened very severe consequences if Putin does not agree to stop the war in Ukraine after this summit, while Putin sees this meeting as a chance to possibly cement territorial gains that Russia has made over the grueling 3.5 years of fighting between Russian and Ukrainian forces in Ukraine. Russia also hopes to keep Ukraine from hosting Western troops so that Russia could gradually pull the country kind of back into its sphere. The possibility of joining NATO is a bit of a non-starter for Russian President Putin, while for Zelensky, that is something he has certainly asked for and pushed for from his country for a while. The exclusion of Ukraine from these talks also notable. There had been kind of a Western policy of Western allies. Nothing about Ukraine would be discussed without Ukraine at the table or at the podium. President Donald Trump, though, suggested that he could potentially bring Zelensky to Alaska for subsequent three-way meetings between Russia, the U.S., and Zelensky, though Russia has not agreed to that. That is something the president has put out, but has not necessarily been agreed to. Some of those consequences that President Trump has threatened would be severe economic sanctions against both Russia and against other countries that buy products from Russia. Think Russian oil in many cases, like India has fallen as the result of that. So a number of different things could potentially come from this. One of the big questions is how much will the President of the United States kind of bargain or deal, likes to be thought of as this chief deal maker. How much will he say when it comes to possible ways to produce a ceasefire or a possible end to the war, while Ukraine does not have a voice at this summit today? So while we await the President of the United States, we're going to leave this feed up for you right now. Ben Handelman is standing by for the second hour of the Wisconsin Live Desk. A lot more local news to get to, but also, of course, keeping our eyes on Alaska and on this summit between two world leaders, two opposing powers, and what it could mean for the future of Ukraine, half a world away. So I'm going to leave this up for you on the Wisconsin Live Desk. Ben will be with you after this for the second hour of Live.
All right, so Wes, what's going to happen here? They're going to walk towards us and stand there and say hello and just leave it by. Right? Yep. Right. And then they're going to walk together and they're going to how's it going? You all right? Talk to me about the photo. Am I doing cuts in there also? Yes. And I'm understand there's an Ethernet cable that's in there for you to plug into. Yeah. Is that correct? Carla's ran that. That's on Russian side of the room, so I'm shooting at the president.
I don't know those details.
That's what Garcia told me.
Okay, I don't know.
Okay. But I am shooting, I'm not shooting head on like I normally do.
I don't know. But I'll see if I can get some other details. I'm going over there with you after this.
Okay. Checking in the motor cable?
No. They're going to take it get another hole.
Yeah.
And we're all over there. So I'll be over there before you get there. And I'll get all that sorted out.
That's all right.
So he started going.
I'm plugged in. I'm blowing out both ways. I'm blowing out both ways. So whatever you got to do what you got to do.
Why does everybody say this? Because we know you.
That's what I said. Skewering my shot? Like what? I don't think so. What happened to that?
I'll tell you what, though.
Ben Hamelin here from the Wisconsin Live Desk. All right, we're making the switch here, and you are looking live at Anchorage, Alaska. This is Joint Base Elmendorf-Richardson. High-stakes meeting between President Donald Trump and President Vladimir Putin of Russia is going to happen here at this Air Force base. It's the first time we have seen Vladimir Putin on American soil in 10 years now, as you're seeing everyone get in place here for this big, huge, high-stakes summit. Just gonna take this full here. All right, so we've got a couple of updates on what was supposed to be, it was billed as a one-on-one between the two presidents here, between the United States and Russia. Does not look like that will actually be a one-on-one now, because senior White House officials are now saying that Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State, and Steve Witkoff, the special envoy, will also be in there in this high-stakes meeting. So they will be in there, so it will no longer be just a one-on-one shot here. Okay, I've got a new shot. Okay. Apologies as they're switching cameras up on me here. Okay, there's Air Force One as we're on the tarmac here in Anchorage.
Kate. Kate. No, yeah, I'm up against the Kate. Yeah, because I mean, we got no shot. Nobody's gonna have a shot of the handshake. If they're not here, we're not gonna have a shot of the handshake. Huh?
All right, I just think it's interesting when all the eyes are focused of the world on that door on Air Force One. As someone who's actually had the privilege of being on the tarmac when Air Force One has landed in different spots, both in Milwaukee and Illinois. So what you don't realize, Air Force One is a huge plane. Big 747 from Boeing, obviously one of the most technologically advanced, probably the most technologically advanced aircraft in the entire world, with all the retrofitting and the security upgrades they do to these aircrafts. But you see that door there? There's also a door on the far side of the plane, and you will only see the president and maybe sometimes the first lady walk out of this door most times. And while that is happening, a lot of people don't realize, well, what's happening to all the staff members and all their press that actually fly on Air Force One with the president? What happens with the pool? Shortly before they walk out of that door, oftentimes they run out the back. So all the people from all the members of the media, all the people who are working for the president, they're going out a different door off of this airplane, and they jump into vans, and the whole motorcade moves together. And so if you're wondering, man, I only saw the president come off the plane, that's by script on how kind of the protocols work when you get off of Air Force One. So as we look here at the door of Air Force One, you will likely only see the president come off of that plane, but trust me, this is packed full of staffers, as this is one of the most important meetings in the entire world. This may go down, today in history of wherever this focus happens here.
Excuse me?
Okay, here's what we're going to do on the Wisconsin Live Desk right now. I got to take a quick break here. Our eyes are obviously here in Anchorage, Alaska for this big meeting, but I do want to bring it home because there's a big update also coming out of Wauwatosa and the cleanup effort there. Jason Calvi is standing by. He's got some great new information. And so obviously we got a lot going on in this hour on the Wisconsin Live Desk to wrap up the week. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
To share with you because I really got to get going to get my package done on time.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Ben Haleman from the Wisconsin Live Desk has gotten very busy here on the Live Desk as we're waiting for President Trump to walk off Air Force One in Anchorage, Alaska, as this high-stakes summit is happening between the United States and Russia. So when this happens, we will take it live. I also want to quickly, we got to talk about Wauwatosa. I got to bring in my colleague Jason Calvi here. We're going to bring in here a lot more locally. Jason, you're in front of a giant pile of trash there. I know you've been focusing on the 211.
Ben, I think you just threw to me, but unfortunately, when I am dialed in to talk with you, this is the phone call to actually be able to connect with you, and that call just died. So I'm going to go ahead and talk. I'm going to try to dial back in. Hopefully, you can hear me. I can't hear you because the phone call died. So I am in Milwaukee, and we're at 46th Street and Glendale Avenue. And this is one of those hard-hit areas, so if we just kind of pan down the road here, you're seeing pile after pile after pile of people's treasures that are now turned into trash. And we had a lot of water going into people's basements here, so if they had beds, couches, if they had clothes down in the basement, thinking about school starting in a few weeks, all that school clothes that might have been in storage in the basement, a lot of these homes destroyed and people now dealing with mold in their basements. So what we're really talking with people today is about what they're looking for assistance. And they've been calling 211, which is that number that you've heard again and again from the mayor, the county executive, from even the state government as well. They said, please call 211. But people have been calling 211. They've been waiting about 45 minutes potentially from several of the people on this block to get in touch with people at 211, which is run by a nonprofit here in Milwaukee. And pretty much when they want you to call 211 is they're trying to track all of the damage. They're trying to put the pieces of the puzzle together to figure out how much damage is in maybe your neighborhood as well.
All right, apologies here.
Report the damage that you may have.
We're losing Jason's shot here, so I'm going to bring it back here locally. So yeah, Jason talking about some of the challenges that 211 has been facing with the long lines as so many people have been calling in. Here's the deal. You don't need to reach 211 via the phone system. You can also go on many online forums and reach out to your local municipality, look at their website. They will tell you what to do. 211 serves multiple purposes here. It serves as a purpose of, one, getting assistance if you need it, and there are resources that 211 can help provide to you. But also, which is really important, just taking a claim that there is damage in your neighborhood, and that is that data that the federal government often uses and the state government to dish out aid money in the future. Jason has done a terrific job reporting on this, that it is a slower process than people would like. FEMA just doesn't announce the next day, emergency, cool, we're dishing out millions of dollars. No, there's a whole process, and that process is underway. But for it to really be as effective as possible, you need to have an actual claim number and know how much damage was actually caused. So that's why calling 211 is important, but as Jason's reporting today, there's been issues with that system. They've just been overwhelmed with the thousands and thousands of people who are calling it. So just so you know, you don't have to call 211. You can make those same kind of claims that you have water in your basement and the damage online, and there are forms there as well. But it is important that everybody take the time to do that, because so many people don't have flood insurance. Every day we are inundated with new calls, new messages from people saying either I had insurance and they're not covering it, or I didn't have insurance and I don't know what to do now, because not is just my basement ruined. We've had a lot of people say their entire homes are destroyed as the foundations have caved in. It's been underreported a little bit. We're doing the best that we can to bring these stories to you, but with just all of the different flood coverage stories that we've had, it's lost a little bit just how much damage is out there and the pain that a lot of people are facing right now. Okay, we continue to watch at this hour. We're still waiting for President Trump to arrive off of Air Force One in Alaska. We've got a couple different views right now from this Air Force base. This is Elmendorf Richardson. There's another shot. As you can see, all the officials are lined up. Just a moment ago, I saw the motorcade kind of get into place. So we're literally minutes away here. And as we wait, I want to take another quick break so we don't miss this here on the Wisconsin Live Desk, exclusively on Fox Local.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Ben Handelman from the Wisconsin Live Desk. It is 1:50 here on our Friday. I went Cash Friday with my attire, doing this brand new polo I got here at Fox 6, and now I'm thinking maybe that was a mistake because, man, has it gotten busy here and very serious with live events unfolding really from around the world here. This is the live picture that all eyes of the world are on right now as President Donald Trump has landed in Anchorage, Alaska, as he is set to meet with Russian President Vladimir Putin. It's already been an interesting day of diplomacy and many wondering what will come out of this meeting. It's being reported that President Trump talked to one of Russia's closest allies, and that is the president of Belarus, a man that many think is the illegitimate leader of Belarus, a dictator who has been in power in that country for a long time, but he's very close to the Kremlin. He's been shunned by a lot of American presidents, but President Trump reportedly making contact with Alexander Lukashenko earlier today. So that is maybe setting the pace for what to come here. Vladimir Putin saying that he wants to see some peace and long-term agreements out of this. But you know who's missing from this agreement there in Anchorage, Alaska, and that is Volodymyr Zelensky from Ukraine, who's just put out a social media video saying that on the day of negotiations, the Russians are killing as well, and that speaks volume. So Delaney, actually, I don't know if we can possibly find that video to try and get it in Tagboard. We're working on that. That's a new video, obviously, it's just come out. As again, these two world powers, these two adversaries, they're going to meet face to face. Again, the original reporting was this was going to be a one-on-one between Putin and Trump. Some of the new reporting saying there's going to be some other people in that room, including Marco Rubio, Steve Witkoff, who Steve Witkoff has been basically doing as much diplomacy around the world as the Secretary of State Marco Rubio, going from conflict to conflict, and has also been meeting behind the scenes with Russia at times, trying to come to some kind of agreement. You can see there's a podium there that they've set up. There is a little bit of pomp and circumstance, the way that they have positioned the aircraft at this American Air Force base in Anchorage. An Air Force base, frankly, that's so important for the safety and security of our country, as there's obviously a lot of service personnel in Alaska protecting us from some of our adversaries on the other side of the ocean there. Well, this is a big deal, too, that Vladimir Putin is going to be here in the country. Granted, the farthest spot in our country you can be with well, I guess we got American Samoa and some territories that are farther out, but obviously being one of the actual states here. First time that it'll be the first time Putin has been here in a decade. So we continue to watch this. Kind of a perfect in-the-middle spot between Moscow and Washington, which are on different sides of the world. Let's just meet in the middle in Anchorage. So I'm just looking at some of the reporting coming off. Okay. The president did take questions on Air Force One, and this President Trump is a president who appears to be happy to do this, where there is a number of media members from Washington. They're called the press pool, and they travel basically anywhere the president goes. They have a spot, and they pay for it. I mean, news organizations, they don't get a free ride on Air Force One. They're paying for their trip here. But they're on board Air Force One, and many times President Trump, as many presidents in the past have done, all have done to some extent, it appears, will walk back to the part of the plane that all the journalists are hanging out on and take some questions. And the president did take some questions right after takeoff from Washington, and again threatened consequences for Vladimir Putin if the Russian leader does not come to an agreement, or is not serious about coming to an agreement. And in some of the past dealings, okay, I've got a new shot here. Looks like the Russian president has now made his way. Now this would make sense. These two presidents are going to get off about the same time there. So there is Putin's plane, a landing here in Anchorage, Alaska. And as we've got this shot, I'm just going to take this full here in Alaska. I got to work on something. But yeah, incredible moments here as you're seeing members of the Secret Service there. And there is the Russian president on American soil. All right, this is the same tarmac here. On the left is Air Force One, where President Trump's plane landed a short time ago. On the right, Vladimir Putin's plane, which has just arrived in Anchorage, Alaska. There's a park nearby. It's called Earthquake Park there in Anchorage. And Anchorage, I mean, a legit city. I mean, a lot of people live in Anchorage. And people have gathered for this incredible sight as the summit is taking place in Alaska right now. So there's a big crowd kind of hanging out on one of the bluffs. There's journalists that are watching that as well. And there you can see that appears to be members of the Russian military who are there to meet their president. These planes standing side by side in Anchorage. An incredible scene here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. You're looking live, Anchorage, Alaska. Ben Handelman here with you as we're just about to hit 2 p.m. here on your Friday, and this incredible summit is about to take place in Alaska. On the left, that is Air Force One. On the right, that is the Russian jet carrying President Vladimir Putin. Just landed at Joint Base Elmendorf-Richardson. I'm just seeing some of the reporting coming from the New York Times here that as the Russian plane just landed here, 4 American stealth bombers flew above the crowd with deafening sound and speed as the jet taxied. So they were kind of escorted in from the might of the American military here. All of this very coordinated, obviously, that they would land at the same time. And you can see it does not appear President Trump is going to get off the plane until the Russian president is ready to get off the plane. And again, similarly, You're seeing they've got one jet bridge. Obviously, there's different places that people can get off the plane. I was talking earlier with Air Force One. I mean, you will only see the president kind of walk off the front of the plane. Everybody else gets off the back of the plane. Not sure if the Russian president, if their protocol is kind of similar. But obviously, they've got like a stage set up here on the tarmac that says Alaska 2025, and you almost wonder if these two men are going to walk off at the exact same time and meet for this photo opportunity. As you're seeing the camera zoom out here, there's the stage that they've set up, and there's stairs on both sides. So it just tells you how well choreographed this whole situation is, as obviously these two men know that the eyes of the world are on this scene. And there's how you can see just how close these planes are. And you can see there's a red carpet from the Russian plane leading over to where President Trump is. So it appears these two men are going to walk off at the same time. You're seeing members of that Russian delegation get off the back of the plane. I've already seen the motorcade for the American side. That's all set up behind Air Force One. And you can see some of these American planes there all set up, and the dignitaries for this high-stakes meeting between President Trump and Vladimir Putin in Alaska, in Anchorage. You're watching it live here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. So this is just fascinating. You're seeing members of the Russian military there on the right setting, I believe that's the Russian military, setting up the red carpet for Vladimir Putin to walk off of that Russian jet. It is currently 11:03 in the morning in Anchorage, Alaska. It is 3:02 in the afternoon in Washington, D.C., and it's 11:03, as the minute just changed, in Anchorage, Alaska. So 3 o'clock in Washington, 10 p.m. in Moscow. Different sides of the world these two world leaders have come from, and they're meeting in the middle in Alaska. The door of the Russian plane is now open, and there you can see members of the Russian military getting this all set up. The one world leader who is not here is the Ukrainian president, who just a short time ago put out a video message. And as we watch these two planes, let's listen to the Ukrainian president.
Ми отримуємо також доповіді з регіонів України після російських ударів. Суми, російський удар по центральному ринку, Дніпровщина, удари по містах та підприємствах, Запоріжжя, Херсонщина, Донеччина, свідомі російські удари. Війна триває саме через те, що немає не тільки наказу, але й сигналів про підготовку Москви завершувати цю війну. В день перемовин вони теж вбивають, і це багато говорить. Напередодні ми обговорили зі Сполученими Штатами Америки, з європейцями, що дійсно може спрацювати. Усім потрібне чесне закінчення війни. Україна готова працювати максимально продуктивно, щоб завершити війну. сподіваємось на сильну позицію Америки. Все буде від цього залежати. Росіяни зважають на американську силу, саме на силу. Продовжуємо координацію з нашими партнерами в Європі. Говорив сьогодні з президентом Франції Макроном. Команда також контактує. Різниця в часі з Аляскою 11 годин. Тож завтрашній день для всіх в Європі почнеться рано. Готуємось до відповідних розмов. Росія має закінчити війну, яку сама ж і почала, і затягувала на роки. Припинення вбивств потрібне. Зустріч лідерів потрібна, щонайменше Україна, Америка, російська сторона. Саме в такому форматі можливі ефективні рішення. Гарантії безпеки потрібні, тривалий мир дуже потрібен. Всі знають ключові цілі. Я хочу подякувати кожному, хто допомагає досягти реальних результатів. Провів ставку і про ситуацію зараз на фронті, у забезпеченні нашої армії, а також довгостроково армія має бути контрактною, і перехід до саме цього має початись вже зараз. Головком доповів про наші активні дії, всі напрямки, особливо Покровський та Запорізький напрямки. Українські воїни вичищають від окупанта позиції в районі Добропілля, і це дуже важливо. Є результат. Російський намір був показати силу перед Аляскою. Фактично для окупанта це закінчується його знищенням. Я дякую нашим 79-й та 82-й десантно-штурмовим бригадам, які воюють саме там, які воюють на напрямку Добропілля. 2-й батальйон 92-ї окремої штурмової бригади. Дякую вам, хлопці. 14-та бригада оперативного призначення Національної гвардії України. Дякую хлопцям з Азову. Також 32-га окрема механізована бригада, 38-ма бригада морської піхоти захищають позиції саме там, на Донеччині. Дякую всім вам. Також вдячність 1-му та 425-му штурмовим полкам. Відзначу наших воїнів на Сумщині. Це передусім 95-та бригада, 225-й штурмовий полк. Дякую. Сьогодні ж провів нараду з нашими дипломатами Міністерства закордонних справ, команда Офісу. Ми розраховуємо на парламентську дипломатію. Подякував сьогодні голові парламенту Руслану Стефанчуку за його активність. Зараз маємо.
That was the message from Volodymyr Zelensky, and there you see President Donald Trump walking off the plane in Anchorage, Alaska, on the left, as President Putin is about to get off his plane on the right, and these two world leaders are about to meet in the middle here for this high-stakes meeting. And here we can see we're getting ready for President Putin to walk off the plane. Incredible sight. We'll listen in, and there's the Russian president, and there is the American president in Anchorage. Despite our cameras, these men are actually flipped around. So Putin is actually on the left. As you can see, Donald Trump looking over to the right there. He's looking at Vladimir Putin right now as these two men are getting ready to meet face to face as the eyes of the world are watching here.
We're still holding for a minute? Okay. The driver's here, so.
Well, that sight will be played for days, weeks, and years to come, and President Trump, Vladimir Putin have gotten into the same limo as this historic summit is underway in Alaska between Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin to see if they can come to some sort of agreement to try and end the war in Ukraine. Obviously, the president of Ukraine not invited, and he just sent out a message saying there needs to be talks with the three countries at the very least for this to come to an end, and he is saying immediately to stop the war and stop the killing. That was the message from the Ukrainian president moments ago in a video message that he put out on social media. And you can see there an incredible sight. I don't see any interpreters or any other people in the limo with these two men besides those two members, I believe, of the Secret Service, as these two presidents are going to get that one-on-one time in the limo ride. Now, this will be a short limo ride. They're not leaving the base, but they're going to go to a building obviously nearby, and they're going to be shuttled around to that side of the base. And so all the motorcades out to not go very far, but here they're moving as you are watching obviously a historic summit and the two world leaders talking as it is now underway. All right, as the motorcade is finally moves away, obviously this is a story we will be following all day here on the Wisconsin Live Desk and on Fox News throughout the evening. It's unknown how long this will last, although we do expect a joint press conference between those two world leaders. You heard some people shouting the questions. Reporters will get their chance to ask these two world leaders questions, and we'll see what comes out of this. So, yeah, just incredible sight there from Anchorage, Alaska. We'll continue to follow that. I got to take a quick break. When we come back locally, we got to talk about the flooding. There's more possibility of flooding tomorrow in southeast Wisconsin. And there is one local business trying to make a difference, especially for parents affected by the flooding. We'll talk about it next on the Wisconsin Live Desk.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
All right, news nerds, welcome back to the Wisconsin Live Desk. 217. Man, has this been a busy day to end the week. Doesn't always happen for us here, but obviously our eyes are on Anchorage, Alaska, as President Trump is meeting with the Russian president at this hour. As you just saw that live moments ago, them meeting on the tarmac of an American Air Force base, and now they've moved off to have these high-stakes conversations. So we'll keep following that. I want to talk closer to home what's going on, because obviously we've been covering the flooding that's been happening. On the lower right, you can see the Milwaukee River, which is still high. There is the chance, tomorrow morning especially, for more downpours, exactly what we do not need. We all are praying and hoping it is not anything like what we saw last weekend. You've seen it here on the show today, just the effects of what more than 14 inches of rain in some spots had in our communities, as the governor has declared a state of emergency. So many people are in need of help, which is why I'm really excited to bring in my next guest, because there is an organization, a group down in New Berlin, a company, a store that a lot of you shop at. They're used to saving parents money, honestly, a lot of times, and now they're trying to help out. I want to bring in Jess Stappas from the Children's Orchard down there. Did I say your last name right? I don't want to mess your last name up as we come out of the...
That was pretty good, Stappas. It's a Greek name.
Okay. Well, thanks for joining us here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. Tell me about what you guys do, because I know in your store at the Children's Orchard, that is a place where people can save a ton of money, especially for parents. And you guys obviously are buying stuff from a lot of parents. And then with the flooding that happened, there's this incredible need that you guys are stepping up and you're trying to help out here.
Yeah, so I mean, our store originally, we buy gently used clothes is what we do, and then we resell them at a highly discounted rate. So when this whole flooding started, we didn't really know how we could help. We're kind of brainstorming ideas, and one of our employees' sister had lost a lot of stuff in the flood. So we kind of asked her, like, what do you guys need? What are you looking for? And she had mentioned that, they had a lot of clothes they got offered to them, but they didn't have any toys. A lot of times people in their basements, that's where all the toys are stored, or all their baby equipment stored. So that's kind of where we got the idea of, let's maybe try to collect some stuff for these families, and they can just come and pick them up. So that's kind of where we're at right now.
All of my friends who've had damage in their basement, you said this right before we are taking you live here, this is what people keep in their basements. I mean, so many people, that is, if they finished the basement, what did they finish it for? That's the play area for their kids. And if it's not a play area, that is where they store a lot of the items that they use throughout the year to try and keep themselves sane as they're trying to give their kids toys. That's where we keep it, in the basement. So it is just incredible how much parents in Southeast Wisconsin have lost. And you guys do have an incredible store down there in New Berlin. As we're getting a little bit of a tour on this video here, but these are the kinds of things that you guys kind of stock on the regular anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're pretty used to looking through baby equipment and toys and knowing, which ones are the safe ones, the ones who are on recall. So we were able to kind of filter through some of the donations too, to make sure that they're going to be good for the families to come through when we host our event next week.
So tell me about the event. What are you looking for? What are you hoping that people drop off here in the next week or so?
I mean, we're really just looking for, even new toys would be fine too, but gently used toys that have almost all the pieces is kind of what we're looking for. Any equipment you might have, the swings, the strollers, the pack and plays, bassinets, those types of things that a lot of people probably did store in their basements. And then books too. We're kind of collecting books. For us, we're a smaller store, so we don't have a ton of employees, so that's why we're kind of trying to limit just to the toys and equipment, because that's, what we can actually handle.
Right, exactly. And I'm just thinking of, it's just, a lot of us have some of these toys that our kids have. I have a 5-year-old. It's just amazing how quickly your kids are just sick of their toys, and they end up in places like the basement. But this, a lot of people are like, how can I donate? How can I help? This is the perfect opportunity to help another parent who might be in need. A lot of these things are so expensive if you buy it new. A lot of these people can't buy anything at all, especially with the damage that a lot of people are seeing right now. I don't know if you know anyone who's thought they had their basement insured, and then they find out they're not covering any of that. We're hearing those stories every single day now.
And that was kind of the other thought behind this, was like, sure, I could give a discount to my store, but I'm like, but that's not necessarily going to help them that much, because they're still gonna have to be spending money in order to replace their items. So that's kind of where we thought, I think a drive where families could come and pick up some toys for free for their kids was kind of the perfect thing that we could do.
Yeah, that is perfect. So are there any age groups that you're looking for that are particularly in need, or really any age group?
Any age group. You know, the bigger kid toys are a little bit more difficult to find. I think, like, obviously baby toys are very easy, and, you know, people go through those so fast. But like, I always think of, like, yeah, the baby dolls, the cars for the kids, or like the race tracks that they have. I think those would be good things. You know, but really we're looking for anything that's in good shape too.
And then how will you find the people who need this stuff? Are you going to put out the call for them? Will you have a day and they can just come and pick some stuff up? Or how's that going to work?
Right now, I mean, we're still kind of working out some of the details, but we are planning for next weekend. So that's going to be the 23rd and 24th. We'll host an event from noon to 4 at our store. We'll kind of have it all outside of the store on the sidewalk, all out displayed, and then, you know, families who were affected can come and pick out some items for their kids.
Yeah, and I'm sure you run into these families, especially, I mean, secondhand clothing, we're always looking for items that are cheaper, but I'm sure you're running into parents who are just struggling to get by every day, just trying to save some money and get the basic necessities for their kids. So, I mean, it must have really hit you hard when you really do see the need in our community right now with all the flooding that we've faced.
Yeah, we're just, you know, we're happy to help. And, you know, as you said before, it's a nice way for other people to help too. You know, I know a lot of people are out there looking to help and like, how can I help? What can I do? So this is, I think, a nice way for people to contribute.
So just remind us the details once again. So if you've got some items that you think you can donate, how do we do that? When can we drop it off? Where can we drop it off?
So we will take donations anytime our business is open. So Monday through Saturday, we are open from 9:30 to 6, and then on Sunday, 11 to 4. So our staff will take in your donations, and I mean, our storage unit is filling up pretty quickly already, which is great. But our neighbors, Kids in Motion, has gracefully opened up their place as well for storage. So we got plenty of space to keep the stuff in. And to drop off, is at Children's Orchard, and we're taking donations between now and next week, Friday. The 22nd.
Great to hear. And then can we go to a website or a social media channel to get updates on this?
The best place would probably go to our social media, both, you know, Children's Orchard New Berlin on Instagram and Facebook would probably be the best place to get the updates.
Well, appreciate you doing this. I mean, I cannot tell you the need here and the amount of emails that we get at the news station every day. It's heartbreaking, and a lot of people are asking how they can help. And you guys are stepping up for a way that we all can help. So Just Apis, really appreciate you guys doing this and coming on here on the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Yeah, I'm really happy you guys brought us on. Thank you.
Well, thanks. Appreciate it. And we'll have to check in with the updated details on, you know, when officially everyone can come out there. Thanks for coming out here on the Live Desk. Yeah, the flooding's just so incredible. Just up and down my block, going on a walk today, just still the piles and piles of trash. That's now trash. It wasn't trash as of last week. These were people's favorite belongings that are down there. So great for the Children's Orchard to stepping up to the plate and having this fundraiser. And hopefully people can go out there in New Berlin and drop your stuff off. All right, I got to take a quick break. We're in our final.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Ben Hamelman from the Wisconsin Live Desk. Who's going to get free burgers next week? Me. I'm going to get a free George Webb burger. This only happens like a couple times in our lifetime. The Brewers, they're in Cincinnati. Interesting. They just came out with some roster updates. Let's go through these all together. The stud pitcher, Jacob Mizorowski, who got hit with a baseball in his shin and it was bruised, he's back, which means he's going to pitch this weekend. Tyler Black, he's a first baseman, recalled from AAA. Stuart Baroa, I have no idea who that is, but he has just joined the Brewers. Grant Anderson is back down to the minors, and then these are kind of interesting updates. Blake Perkins clearly had a death in the family, the outfielder, so he is on bereavement list. That's who Stuart Baroa is replacing there. And Isaac Collins, the outfielder, has been placed on paternity leave. Congratulations to the Collins family as a new baby is in their life, as he's been playing incredible. But another reason that someone named Stuart Baroa is now on the team. And Tyler Black, he'll be backing up Vaughn. I don't know when Rhys Hoskins is coming back. That's the starting first baseman, but I don't know how they're going to replace him with Andrew Vaughn being King Vaughn, as they say. Man, do I sound like a Brewers expert or what with everything I just talked about? I should maybe, no, I'm never going to do sports. Hey, thanks for joining us on the Live Desk. You get all these stories on your Fox local app, and we will see you same time, same place next week.
Sometimes it rains.
And look at this. Boom.
Sometimes it pours.
I was freaking out. The water was up out of the garage.
Started flooding like the Titanic. There's no stopping it.
But this
What do we do?
was extraordinary.
When you get something like 10 to 14 inches of rain,
there's no sewer system across the country that can maintain that amount.
This week on Open Record,
this current is no joke.
What really happened?
Filling right back in from the south.
How rare is it?
I never seen it this high before.